this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this fancy little bracelet here. I have not decided what I'm going to call it yet, maybe stacked crystal, I'm not sure, but I am using some English cut electroplated glass beads and some Firepolish beads. You have a strand of this strand or this strand in your newest treasure bags. However, these beads are easily obtained. I have some on my website, and you can do this regardless if you have the treasure bag or not. And you can do it with a lot of different options, and I will explain that to you in the next segment. I've used some fold over clasps. Let me take one of these off if I can do it quickly and show you what the bracelet looks like. And that's what that one looks like. And let's see if I can get this one off quick enough. And that's what that one looks like. Let me zoom in a little bit more. They turn out really pretty. You can see how the difference in sizes of beads really makes a nice dimensional effect. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing today, and let's get started. Okay, for this project today, I am going to be using a 6mm round English cut crystal bead here, or electroplated glass actually, and I'm going to be using it in the teal color on this video. I've made one already in the pink color. Now these strands were in the newest treasure bags, the amethyst accents and the opalite accents. However, you can use any 6mm round bead that you would like for this, and you can use any color scheming that you would like, and I do have some of these on the website if you would like some. Now, if you had the amethyst treasure bag, you'll be using it in pink. If you have the opalite treasure bag, you'll be using it in this green teal. Then you're going to need some 8/0 seed beads and some 11/0 seed beads. In this purple one that I've made, or the one with the purple accents here, I used an 11/0 galvanized permanent finish lilac, and then I used the 8/0 in galvanized permanent finish starlight. For this green one I'm going to be using galvanized permanent finish starlight in 8/0, and I'm going to be using antique bronze in 11/0. These are all Toho. Then I'm going to be using a 4mm bead for my sections in between the larger beads. So this is a 4mm Firepolish bead, and it is transparent champagne luster. You can also use, like I did in this one, a 4x4x4 or 4mm cuboid, and I used purple plum cuboid on this one. And you can get those on my website too if you would like, or just find something in your stash. You might even be able to get away with a 4mm bicomb for this, or maybe even a 4mm round if you would like to try that. And then I'm going to be using one of these little oval fold over clasps, just because as sparkly as I've made mine, I have decided that I would really like a sparkly fancy clasp on it, so I'm using one of these. These are also on the website if you want some. Otherwise, just use any clasping that you would like to use. It'll all work out just fine. Now you could also use a 6mm round pearl on this too, instead of the English cut, and that would make it a little less sparkly, and you could do your sparkly sections in between. That would be very, very pretty too. So there's lots of ways you can modify this. You do not have to have a treasure bag to do this. You just need to get in your stash and find similar beads and go for it. This is a very simple design. So with that being said, let's talk about thread and needle and get started. So I'm using 6-pound Fireline. You don't want anything bigger than a 6-pound Fireline. If you still have some nanofill around, an 8 or 10 pound will work fine in nanofill. And I'm using 6-pound Fireline in the crystal color and a size 12 beading needle. And I am going to put onto my beading needle probably about 5 feet of thread to start with. You're going to need to extend your thread during this project. It is a very thirsty stitch. We're going to be sewing through these beads a lot, so it is very important to have a small diameter thread and a small diameter needle. So go ahead and put about 5 feet of thread onto your needle, and we're going to go ahead and get started with this project. Okay, to start this project, you're going to pick up a 6mm round bead, and then you're going to pick up an 11/0, an 8/0, and an 11/0, and a 6mm round bead. And then you're going to repeat by picking up an 11/0, an 8/0, and an 11/0. And this is what you should have on your needle, just like this. Then we're going to draw this to the end of the thread. Now I have not put on as much thread as you will have, simply so that you don't have to watch me pull tons of thread through, but bring it to the end. And then I am going to cross my working thread over my tail thread, and I'm just going to draw these beads around into a circle and then tie another knot on top of there, making sure that my little tiny knot is very tight and it is down between the 6mm round and the 11/0 seed bead here. And then I'm going to go into the crystal here and up into the 3 seed beads on top here. I am then going to pick up an 11/0, 2 11/0s, and an 8/0 actually. So 2 11/0s and an 8/0, and I'm going to drop this down to my seed beads on top of the unit. Now I'm going to put on my clasp. So I have this little fold over clasp. I'm going to take one side off of it. So I'm just going to open one side of it. And if you have a regular clasp, you're just going to sew your clasping on exactly like I do through the loop of it. But for these little fold overs, I'm going to take one end off, close it, and then this is the side that I'm going to attach. And I'll put the other half of the clasp aside. And now I'm going to go through the loop of my clasp. And again, if you have a regular clasp, do exactly what I'm doing through the loop of that clasp. Then we are going to sew into just the 8/0 seed bead after going through the loop of the clasp. Hold on to that 8/0 and just pull everything down so that your clasping is right on top of your beads. Then pick up 2 11/0 seed beads and go into the opposite side of the 3 seed beads on top of your unit. So I'm going to go into this side now, all 3 of them, just like this, and pull through. Then I'm going to straighten this out, turn it so the domed part of my fold over is to the top, and then I'm going to sew through it a couple more times. So I'm going to sew up through these 2 11/0s I'm closest to, into the 8/0, and then into the clasping. Pull this through, give a nice little tug to tighten it up, and then go back down into the 8/0 and into the 2 11/0s on the other side, just like this. Then we're going to go back into the 3 11/0s on top, and we're going to do this one more time. So we're going to go up through the 3 11/0s or the 2 11/0s on the side, up through the 8/0, and into our clasping. So I missed my clasp, so I'm going to have to go back through it. And then I'm going to go down into the 8/0, the 2 11/0s on the opposite side from which I came up through here, and then into the 3 11/0s on top of my unit. Now I am going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead, and then another 6mm round, and an 11/0 seed bead, and I'm going to cross over from this side of my 3 11/0s on the top of the unit into the opposite side of the 3 11/0s on the bottom unit. So in a diagonal motion, I'm going to go into these 3 on the bottom, just like this. And I'm going to pull this through. And I'm going to pull these beads on top, give a nice tug, make sure that they're nice and secure and look good. And then we're going to secure that by sewing all the way around the entire unit. So we're coming out of the 3 11-0s. We're going to go into this crystal here, and that top bead is going to loosen. So we're going to pull on it as we go through each section of beads to make sure that our embellishment stays up there nice and tight and pretty. So now we're coming out of this bead here. We're going to go into the 3 on top. If I can. Can't seem to see where I'm at. There we go. Into these 3 here. Pull. Make sure that embellishment is nice and tight. Go down through the crystal on this side now. I'm going to move my tail. And then I'm going to go through the 3 on the bottom here. And again, once I come through, I'm going to pull everything nice and tight. Make sure that embellishment, this first one likes to loosen, so make sure it's nice and tight and secure. At this point, I can cut my tail down some and have it out of the way, and I can always burn that little part in later. So now I'm coming out of these 3 bottom beads here. We're going to make the smaller section in between. So now you need your cuboid or your Firepolish bead or whatever smaller bead you're using that's around 4 millimeters. So I'm picking up a 4 millimeter Firepolish bead, and then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and an 8-0 and an 11-0 and a 4 millimeter Firepolish bead. Blah. Okay, so I have these beads on my needle. I'm coming out of this side of my 3 11-0s. I'm going to go into the opposite side of all 3 of them and pull these beads down. So they should form a little square like this. Then we are going to get you in just a little closer here. We are going to sew around this entire unit. So we're going to go down into the Firepolish bead closest to where we're coming out of the seed beads, into the 3 seed beads on the bottom here. And again, make sure everything's staying nice and tight. Then up through the Firepolish bead on this side, and then through the 3 beads we're attaching to right here. Then you're going to pick up an 11-0 and a Firepolish bead and an 11-0, and you're going to cross over and go into the 3 beads on the bottom here on the opposite side. So you'll be in a diagonal motion here and just pull your thread through. So go through these 3, pull your thread through, and that should just flop right on top, just like that. Now to secure this whole thing, we're going to sew through the entire unit one more time. So we're going to go up into the Firepolish bead here, and try not to get the 11-0s that are anchoring the bead on top. Just go through the Firepolish bead and then go through the 3 that we've attached to. So our original 3 we're going through. Then we're going to go through the Firepolish bead on this side, and then we're going to go through the 3 beneath it. And those are the units, and we just keep repeating. So now that we've finished the small Firepolish bead unit, we're going to start with the bigger beads. So we're going to pick up a 6 millimeter round, an 11-0, an 8-0, an 11-0, and a 6 millimeter round. We do not have to pick up another section of our little seed beads because we already have it here that we're sharing. So we're just going to go into the opposite side from where our thread is coming out, just like this, and go through all 3 of those beads. Pull this down, and then we're going to secure it. So we're going to sew all the way around the unit. We're going to go down into the green bead here, the 3 on the bottom. Come on. They're in funny little angles sometimes, so just be patient and manipulate your way through there. And then we're going to go up into the green bead on this side, And then we're going to go into the 3 beads we're attaching to. And here we're going to pull tight, make sure our unit is pulled together nicely, and we're going to put our embellishment on top. So pick up an 11/0, a 6mm round, and an 11/0. And then cross over your unit and go into the 3 on the bottom here. Pull this over the top, pull it down, secure it, put your 11/0s in the best order you can. They're not going to lay perfectly on this, but they're just covering thread basically. So now that we've done this, we're going to sew all the way around the original unit so that we can come back out and make our next unit. We're coming out of these 3 11/0s. We'll go up into the crystal on this side. Then we'll go through our 3 original beads that are attaching. Now, if it's easier for you, you can turn it over and then you can see them better and you can go through all 3 of those beads. If you would like, just like that. I'm going to turn it back over, go down through the crystal now that I'm through those 3 11/0s, and then go into these 3 11/0s here. Now I'm ready to make my fire polish unit. We'll do that one more time together and then we'll continue to length because the units will not change. The only thing that will change is which beads you're using. So we're just alternating our beads and doing the exact same stitch over and over again. So now we're going to pick up a fire polish bead, an 11/0, an 8/0, and an 11/0, and a fire polish bead, or 4mm round, or cuboid, or whatever you're using. The cuboids work really well for this, and I used a purple plum with the pink beads cuboid. I'm pulling this through now, and this one is a transparent champagne fire polish. It's just really pretty together, so you know. Now I'm going to go through, oops, I prefer that you just come through the fire polish and then come through all 3 of these beads together on the bottom, but you know, if you get the 11/0, you get the 11/0. Then we're going to go up through this one, and once we're all the way around and come through the 3 beads we're attaching to, then we are going to pick up an 11/0, a fire polish bead, 4mm, whatever you're using, and an 11/0. Cross over to the opposite side, go through the 3 on the bottom, pull this over the top nice and neat, give a little tug, and then sew around the entire original unit. So I'm going back into the fire polish bead, pull tight, go into the 3 that I've attached to. Again, you can turn it over to see them better. And then I'm going to go down into the fire polish bead on this side and then through my 3 11/0s, and I'm ready to start my next unit with my 6mm rounds. And this is what this looks like. And then the most important part is keeping your bead on top that you're embellishing with very tight. So make sure after each step, and especially after you've sewn around and begin to make your next unit, that that bead is tight, because once you make your next unit, you're setting it, and you want to make sure that you don't set it loose. So continue making these units until you have 23 or 25 full units. So I'm counting each unit here. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And the reason that they are varying from, this one has 23 units in total, this one has 25. They are the same length. This will make a 7.5-inch bracelet with my clasping that I have chosen. However, because the fire polish beads are a little bit smaller than the cuboid beads that I'm using, I had to do another unit of each type of bead to get the same length as I did on this one. So of course you'll just make as many units as you need for the length that you need. Again, this is making a 7.5-inch bracelet with the clasping I have chosen. Your clasping is going to make a difference, so keep that in mind. And once I have finished, I finished on my bigger unit because I started on a bigger unit and I want to make it symmetrical. So you'll want to finish on a bigger unit. And then we're going to zoom in here and we're going to put our clasping on. So I've separated this end. I went ahead and put the centerpiece on this side that I've already got hooked up. Now I'm going to put this end on. Of course, you can just sew any type of clasping on the same way I'm going to do it. Just go up through the loop of whatever you're using. Pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of the seed beads on the top of this unit here after securing it, and I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s, an 8-0, and then I'm going to drop them down to the beads I'm connecting to. Then I am going to pick up my clasp and I'm going to go through the loop of my clasp just like this, bring it down to my piece, go through just the 8-0 seed bead, and then I'm going to pull my thread through. I am then going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, or excuse me, 2 11-0 seed beads, and go into the other side of the 3 seed beads I'm connecting to right here. Now, we're going to sew through that a couple of times. So you're just going to do like we did on the other end. Come up through the 11-0s into the 8-0, into the clasp, down the other side, and back into the beads we're connecting to. And do that 2 more times, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now I have secured my clasping. I've sewn through it several times and it's pretty secure now. So I'm coming out of the 3 11-0 seed beads that I've secured the clasping to. And I'm just going to turn my piece over. And I'm going to go into the crystal right next to where I'm coming out of these seed beads here. And I'm just going to pull through, and then I'm going to go through these 3 11-0s right here. I am going to then go between this fire polish bead here and this 11-0, poke my needle up through there, and I'm going to situate my thread so that it's right between these 2 beads, go through the loop that I've pulled down in the process, and then pull a little knot right between the 11-0 and the fire polish bead. Then I'm just going to sew down this fire polish bead here into these 3 11-0s here and tie another knot between the crystal here and the 11-0. So I'm just going right underneath this little thread bridge in between the 2 beads here. And I'm going to pull a little loop, making sure that the loop stays between those 2 beads, go through the loop, and pull a knot down. And you can do that several times, or however many you feel like you need to do to secure this. I'm just going to go down one more set here. Tie one more knot right here between the fire polish bead and the 11-0. Just make sure you situate that loop right between those beads. And then I'm just going to sew into this set. And this set seems to be kind of full of thread, so I may have to just tie off here. No, I can get through it. This is why you want to use a small needle and a small thread, because we sew through these beads a lot, securing these units. Now I'm just sewing through a little ways away so that I can just cut off my thread, leaving a small tag of thread, and then I can grab my lighter and just burn that little piece in. Just get close to it, don't light it on fire, just melt it into the piece, and then this is what you have. It's like this. You can get really creative with these and try different types of beads, different colors, some that are shiny, some that are not. Like I said, a pearl might be pretty. anything 5 or 6 millimeters should work. These are faceted, so it does help them lay on top of each other nicely because of the facets. If that is an issue and you're seeing more thread, if you use something that is not faceted, then you may need to add 2 11-0 seed beads on either side of your embellishment bead that goes over the top, just to make sure that your thread is covered and it looks pretty. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and put them on. I'll be back, show you what they look like, and we'll call it good. And here is what they look like on. They turned out really pretty. I'm going to show you the clasping. That's really pretty too. These little foldovers always add a really nice touch to your pieces, especially when they're fancier, shinier little pieces like this. I think they really help elevate the look of them. And this turned out really pretty. And like I said, you don't have to have the treasure bags to do these. Just experiment with different kinds of beads. I also have all of these types of beads on the website in different colors. So if you'd like to check that out, just go to round beads for these, and they're under English cut. They could be 5 by 5 by 5 or 6 millimeter. Doesn't matter, either will work. And you can find those on with the round beads. I have some Firepolish, which will be under Firepolish, and I have cuboids, which are under cuboids, and this is a purple plum. So if you want to make the exact same thing and you didn't get a treasure bag, you can do that. Otherwise, just dig in your stash and have some fun. See you next time. Bye-bye.